Did you guys know we recently hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube? Well, we'd actually be at more like 6,000 if the 85% of you returning viewers actually hit the subscribe button. You scroll down just a little bit and there's going to be a subscribe button for you guys right here. You can even hit like on the video or share it with your friends too while you're down there. And our description box down below also has links to all of the different socials I have. And the best part is you can even leave a comment telling me how much you enjoyed the video, or didn't. I don't care, it's your life. Subscribing doesn't take anything but that 1 second of time, and it really helps make sure that you don't miss any of my uploads. So if you are enjoying watching all of my content, it helps you out, and it helps me out. Now that you've done that, let's get back to the video. What is going on, guys? Ninja Nick back with this time round 3 of this League Cup in Catskill, New York at Kirwan's game store. Unfortunately, round 2, I did try to record, but the video kept stuttering and pausing for long periods at a time, and it was completely unwatchable, so we just have to skip it. They live streamed it, and then this was just the footage that was recorded, so unfortunately just was not able to be salvaged, so I do apologize for that. It was a Gardevoir versus Arceus Regidrago Gallade deck, that pile of meme that Zach Lesage was saying it was good just because one of the juniors he coaches was won a regional with it. So obviously very biased in that regard. If I was coaching a junior and they won the junior division, I would say that their deck is good no matter no matter what they were playing. They could have been playing Zorobox for all I cared, and I'd be like, oh yeah, deck's cracked. So we see Scott here on the and the Gardevoir 1-2-0. That's the point I was trying to make. Gardevoir 1-2-0 very cleanly. Scott here on the left with the Mew VMAX deck, one of his favorite decks. He loves to play those shiny cards. I always like to joke with him that the full arts and secret rares and alt arts that he plays make him more skilled. I make that joke with everybody now. And Tori here on the right, playing the Lost Box deck, as he has been doing quite a lot recently. Gonna go for 2 flower selectings, is gonna get a Nest Ball and a Battle VIP pass into the Lost Zone. A little bit of an odd choice to have a Battle VIP pass in the Lost Zone this early in the game, but if you look at his hand, he has yet another Comfey and a Nest Ball, so he doesn't really need the Battle VIP pass to get going, especially since he doesn't have an energy in hand for the Greninja. Maybe you would have saved the Battle VIP pass if maybe you were gonna go for like drawing cards with Greninja. Oh, he already has the Greninja in hand too. Oh yeah, so never mind. He has like a full... he has everything he could want. The only thing he's missing here is the Chorus's Experiment. Now what he can do is he does have the Forest Sealstone, it looks like, in hand, along with the Dragonite V. So he could bench the Dragonite V, attach the Forest Sealstone to it, and use his V-Star power to use find and use Chorus's Experiment. Will put him at 4 cards in the Lost Zone, and maybe he'll find the Cramorant off of that, or he could get it off this Nest Ball that he's using right now. So hitting in with the Cram, not too bad of an idea. The only problem with going for that play is that since Scott went first and managed to load up his bench with a couple Genesects and another Mew, this will now allow him to potentially evolve into the Mew VMAX, double turbo, and then boss and knock out the whatever 2-prizer is put down. The Dragonite V does have the most HP out of all of the 2-prizers that Tori does play, but it looks like he's going to go for the Drapion instead. I'm not opposed to that. Just because you want Drapion in this matchup anyway, so that's your preferred Forest Sealstone user, but it does kind of put it in harm's way a little bit, because Scott could always not even need any power tablets like he would with the Dragonite V-Star. He can just play a Choice Bell or 1 power tablet and then be able to knock out the Drapion. So it's a little bit scary to have that in this position already, but Tori has a lot of practice with this deck and every matchup that it goes into, so I'm sure he is saying that the risk outweighs the the benefits outweigh the risks. Is that how I want to say it? So we did V-Star for our Chorus's experiment, and we are going for it now. Going to be able to look at the top 5 cards, choose 3 to add to our hand, and 2 to be put into the Lost Zone, putting us at 4 cards. And will we be able to cram this turn? I think since he Nestballed for the Drapion, this might mean he won't be able to attack with cram, but I think you're still fine letting maybe a Comfey go down instead. Especially since you do have 3 of them in play. We did find a water energy to use with Greninja's concealed cards as well, though, so gonna get a couple extra cards in hand here. And we do find a Battle VIP pass off of that. You could use that to find your Cramorant. And yeah, I think just attacking with the Cram here is perfectly fine. As long as there's one switching card in his hand or another energy to retreat. But it looks like we're going to go for the Sableye potentially. I'm not opposed to that. I think getting the Sableye out here is fine. You do sort of bench lock yourself if you go for the Cramorant and not have room for the Sableye potentially if Scott misses a knockout. And it could force you into attacking with the Drapion the next turn. So Tori is likely considering that option. But he is just going to go for the Cram. I think Cram is safer just because, you know, if Scott does miss an evolution, you know, you already have 110 on that one Mew. You could always just go boss knockout with the Cram, but no, he looks like he's gonna switch cart into the Drapion and take the knockout with that now. So this is a very questionable decision in my opinion. He is going to go up 2 prize cards. Maybe there's something in the prizes that Tori is really fishing for. But as long as Scott is able to find the Lost City, which he does top deck, oh my god, he is going to be able to remove that Drapion from the equation for the rest of the match. These Lost Box decks only play 1 copy of Drapion V. So we will more than likely not see that Drapion come back into play for the rest of the game. Or at least for game 1. Game 2 and 3, we might always see it. So our Ultra Ball here does find us... It was either that Mew VMAX or that other Genesect or Mew or whatever it is that's on the bench. Yeah, Genesect. So we got both of those in play now, so we can draw until we have 4 cards in our hand. We're going to use the first Genesect. Love that Scott is doing that little bit of a tap there to signify that. Showing off that he drew the Battle VIP pass turn 2. You love to see it. We're going to draw 2 more cards with the second Genesect now that we have 5 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. And we can Ultra Ball away double Battle VIP pass, so if you're going to draw into them, definitely use them with an Ultra Ball. That's what you love to see. We did get another Mew V specifically as one of our benched Pokemon, which will allow us to leave room for 1 more Genesect to search for this turn. So we have 2 more Genesect abilities we can use. Hopefully we can find that double Turbo Energy or a Fusion Strike Energy along with an Elisa's Sparkle. You always want to find that Fusion Strike Energy first before you use the Elisa Sparkle. Because otherwise, if you Elisa Sparkle first, that's 2 less Fusion Strike energies that are in the deck that you can potentially draw into. So you have higher odds of drawing into the Fusion Strike energies if you try to draw into one first and then find the Elisa. So we do have the Forest Seal Stone, so we're only looking for one of those 2 pieces now. If we are going to go for that route. And it looks like the Fusion Strike energy is in hand. But we could instead go for the double Turbo energy. As our card to search for, and we are going to be able to use a Cramomatic to find that instead. We might be able to keep that Forest Seal Stone for another rainy turn. So I'm gonna go for that, and then, or we could even Forest Seal for the Elisas now and use it, but I think it's better to just hold off on that for as long as possible. Try not to waste too many resources if you can, or you could always just draw into the Elisas here and use it. You don't necessarily need to judge just yet. Your opponent has a low hand size, And all that you're doing... Oh, you do need to find the card. It looks like we're missing either the choice belt or the power tablet. So I think it's correct to go for the choice belt. You can potentially use it multiple times as long as your Mew VMAX lives another turn. If Tori has to put down maybe the Dragonite, you'll still get more use out of this. So keep those power tablets in the deck. You could, of course, thin the deck a little bit better by using a power tablet, but choice belt, just much more of an efficient use of a card here. So going to take that knockout, and we're going to tie up the game now, both players at 4 remaining prize cards. And now that Tori no longer has access to that Drapion, yes, that did put him 1 card closer to Lost Mine, but now Tori's going to have to find a knockout on 2 different Genesects, more than likely. It's going to be really hard to go through a Mew VMAX, but if Tori is able to, say, use Moonlight Shuriken with Radiant Greninja, and then a couple of Lost Mines after that to knock out the 2 Genesects, I mean, that's pretty easy, right? But that can easily be messed up by just a switch card. That will really hurt the math on that, so... If you could find a couple of switch cards, or if you're playing the what's it called? The Crystal Cave Stadium, that can also heal some additional damage from these Genesects, so... Scott put dice on top of his hand to signify he does have 8 cards in hand, I believe. That would have to be what that means. He would have drawn until he had 6 cards remaining in his hand, and then took 2 prize cards, which would put him at 8. So that is definitely correct. So the question is, what is Tori going to go for here? The Cramorant did take the 6 damage counters, or the 60 damage, whatever it is, from the Drapion attack. The Drapion does damage one of your own Pokemon by 6, so... We are now at 5, 6, 7, 8 cards in the Lost Zone. 2 more will be able to attack with Sableye. But Tori is probably looking more so for the Greninja attack now? I don't know. Do you want to attack with the Greninja first, or do you want to attack with the Sableye first? I think maybe the Sableye, because it's a lot harder to heal 1 Genesect off than it is 2. Like, especially with the Crystal Cave, could be super punishing. So we see Tori is going to go for the escape rope here. Scott's going to put up the Mew. Because, of course, the Genesect could always come active and then just get hit by the Cram, and then what happens? Sometimes Mew decks, in rare occasion, do play a Volo, which could discard one of your bench Pokemon, or even a Penny, which allows you to pick up one of your basic Pokemon. Which would also be great ways to effectively put Tori behind a turn in damage on those Genesects and Mew. So it looks like probably the Pokestop we're going for now, right? That's what it looks like. We are 1 card away from Lost Mine. We're going to Mirage Gate first. There should still be energies in the deck. Yeah, we're going to go for Water Lightning. It looks like we are going to be trying to load up the Greninja's attack this turn. So Moonlight Shuriken will put 90 damage to 2 Genesects. And then each one of them have 10 damage counters worth of HP remaining. You lost mine to one of them for 10 and 2 to the other one that's already damaged, putting it at 110 damage with 80 remaining. And then you could attack even with a Cram for the knockout, or another Sableye. So, looks like we're double Mirage Gating here. We have the Water Energies in deck to be able to load 2 Water Energies and a Lightning to the Radiant Greninja, as well as a Psychic to the active Comfey to be able to retreat it. Of course, Radiant Greninja requiring 2 Water Energies and 1 Colorless in order to be able to use its Moonlight Shuriken to do 90 damage to 2 bench Pokemon. Now that we've already taken the energies out of our deck with the Mirage Gates, we are now going to use our Pokestop. We have more likely odds to hit items, and we're not going to mill those energies that we already need. So perfect sequencing from Tori there is going to mill 2 item cards there, so going to be able to use them. Going to set up that Lost Zone, make that pretty thick with that Lost Vacuum, getting rid of the Pokestop. We're even going to set up the Sableye with a Psychic Energy, and now what do? Do we attack with the Greninja first, or do we attack with the Sableye first? And of course, Tori is going to attack with the Greninja first. I think you get the most value out of attacking with the Greninja first when you have both set up, just because if you were to attack with the Sableye and then you get boss knocked out with the Radiant Greninja, you played both of those Mirage Gates for nothing. So, yep, 90 to 2 Genesects is definitely the correct play there. So, Scott is set up to lose now. Can he take 4 prizes before Tori can do 2 more attacks? Or does Scott have the ability to heal his Pokemon? I did see he has the... what stadium is it called? Is that the Pokemon League headquarters where basic Pokemon need 1... No. Is that the one that searches... No, Town Store searches the tool card. Pokemon League headquarters makes it so basic Pokemon require 1 more energy to attack. So that is somewhat a Lost Box counter in a way. It does require, if you have that in play, for Sableye to have an additional energy to attack, but Lost Box can so easily play around that card. I do not think that that is that good of a card, and it doesn't do anything to Lost Box whatsoever. I think having the Crystal Cave is a lot better, because if you Crystal Caved here, you would be able to heal both of those Genesects by 30, leaving them at 130 remaining each. Both of them would be out of range for a Sableye to knock them out. So it would force Tori into, say, attacking with a Raikou or the Dragonite in order to get the knockout on one of those. Or he would have to do an additional Lost Mine. So he'd have to, like, Lost Mine, like, 3 more times in order to take the game. And it effectively renders the Greninja's attack useless, which is why I like the Crystal Cave in Mew. But at this point, this was a month ago that this was recorded, only just recently got the footage from Kirwan's Game Store to be able to upload this, and at this point, some Mew lists were just trying that out. Obsidian Flames had literally just become legal this weekend at that time. And I know that we do have 151 coming up in the corner right now. It did just release. Obsidian Flames format being a very short format, only like a month and a half long. And then 151 comes out, and then like 3 weeks after that or something is pre-releases for Paradox Rift. It's absolutely crazy. It's almost like we're playing in a Yu-Gi-Oh format, because they have a set release like every month. Good thing 151 isn't super relevant. The only cards that are relevant in there are the Mew EX and the 70 HP Charmander, as far as I'm aware. I know there's a couple other, like, halfway decent cards. Like, I thought the Moonlight Hill was going to release in 151, but it didn't. We're waiting until Paradox Rift for that, so... the 151 is not too much of a meta-defining set. Although the Mew EX is really good, because you can copy your opponent's Radiant Greninja's attack. Even in, like, the Gardevoir Mirror is pretty good. We are seeing a second Sableye go to the bench, and a Raihan here is going to set it up. So Tori basically has game on board. He has 2 Sableyes and a Cramorant. Any of these Pokemon will be able to allow him the 2 attacks he needs in order to win the game. Cramorant would require a boss's orders. And Tori is probably looking through his deck. The 2 of them are giggling a little bit. I'm assuming that Tori does not need any particular card in his deck, and he's just trying to decide which one he even wants to take. I'd say maybe go for the Forest Seal Stone. You've already used your V-Star power, so use that just to put it down on any of your Pokemon, just to thin the deck of 1 more card. In case you do get Judged or Ionode, you don't necessarily draw into that. Even if it's a card you don't need right now, you might as well thin the deck of that card, so you are less likely to be disrupted later. What card did he go for? So I believe his next attack will be with a Sableye. He will put 10 damage counters to one Genesect, put the 2 on the other, and then it will be 80 damage away from Tori taking the game. So we're going to see another Lost Vacuum, getting rid of the Stadium card. So neither of these Sableye need an additional energy card in order to attack. And now we are going to Pal Pad as well. If there's any bosses in there, I would assume those would go back. I don't see any, but it looks like we're just going to put back a couple of Chorus's experiments. I'm overvaluing the need for boss. You're more than likely just going to be able to get those 2 Sableye attacks off. It's not like your opponent is able to play Mew EX, which at this point was not even released. Not only is it not currently legal, but it wasn't even released at the time of this tournament. In order to copy a Radiant Greninja that your opponent doesn't even have in play because it was already knocked out in order to use its attack. At this point, if I were Scott, I would just be scooping and going to the next game. We have spent 20 minutes so far. These are 60-minute best of 3 rounds. So the more time you can give yourself for the next game, the better. Especially since Tori already has game on board. It doesn't matter if you judge or INO him. Just scoop, go to the next game, save some time to make sure that you can still win games 2 and 3. So I think Scott's thinking about it right now. Maybe he's still trying to find an out, but he needs to take 3 knockouts to win the game. And Tori has 2 Pokemon that can both take the game. Or technically 3 Pokemon that can all take the game right now. Can he knock all of them out simultaneously and then hope that Tori doesn't just go like Super Rod? Because Super Rod would just get those pieces back into rotation again. The Oricorio would have been nice to have earlier in the game because he could have reduced the damage from the Radiant Greninja by 20, which would then make it so both of the Genesects only take 70 from the Radiant Greninja, thus leaving them with 110 HP remaining after the attack each, which could then be healed down faster because, of course, they would be taking less damage. Or no, 120 each. Genesect has 190. So you'd be at 120 each. So yeah, the Oricorio math would certainly have been helpful earlier, but again, that's only if you have the Crystal Cave. So it looks like we are using multiple power tablets. We are going to Pal Pad. And yeah, at this point, Scott is just wasting time. Again, this is like we're 2 minutes into him still losing on the next turn. I think Scott's trying to play Pal Pad to no effect, but you can't play a card to no effect. You have to be able to shuffle. You have to shuffle a supporter back. It says choose up to 2 supporters in order to shuffle them back into the deck. And 0 is not an option because that would be playing Pal Pad to do nothing. And yeah, he's asking that. The same ruling happened with Battle Compressor. That's where I learned it. You cannot choose to mill 0 cards from your deck with Battle Compressor. It says discard up to 3 cards. And I'm like, but 0 is up to 3. And they're like, yeah, but you're playing the card to not do anything, to just get the card out of your hand. You can't do that. You can play Ultra Ball to look through your deck, which is private knowledge, and then fail to find because your deck is private knowledge. But it's public knowledge what's in your discard pile. So now Scott's going to use his first Genesect for the turn. We are now like 3.5 minutes into Scott's turn. And yeah, now he's realizing that he can't win, so he's going to scoop. So they are going to go into game 2 now. And it's a pretty textbook Lost Box versus Mew matchup. Lost Box always has the advantage just because of this exact situation. They have Drapion, they have Greninja, and they have Sableye. And if you don't have the exact counters in the deck at all, or exactly when you need them, there is nothing you can really do about it. Alright, so it looks like we have a Sableye versus Mew start for game number 2 here. Scott is obviously going to try to go first, right? Gonna start that Mew. He already has a Battle VIP pass in his hand, so given the good luck fist bump, Scott's a good sport. We're gonna Choice Belt just so that we can draw some extra cards. Not that we need it just yet. Battle VIP pass will probably get at least 1 Genesect, maybe 2. You could get a Genesect and a Mew is probably better. In case you do get roped, you could always rope from one Mew to the other. Now, what are we doing, Scott? So he's going to shuffle the deck. He's probably going to go for the Genesect draw then. I would have to guess if he's not going back into the deck right now. He has the Oricorio he could put down as well. Again, that does help the math a little bit against that Greninja combo, but only if you have the right Stadium card, or I guess you could use it with the Switch cards too, right? So I think I would still put Oricorio down in this matchup, but looks like he is not quite going for that. Looks like, I think he Lost Zoned it with that Lost Vacuum, just trying to dig a little bit harder into his deck. I'm not sure if digging this hard is what you need to be doing turn 1. But, I mean, I guess if you don't, you're even weaker to Drapion. But no, he already has the Battle VIP pass in hand. I think I might have just saved those cards, used the Battle... Well, no, he got those off the one Genesect, right? So maybe if he didn't use that, he wouldn't have drawn into those cards. I don't know. I haven't played Mew in a while, so it's a bit tricky of a matchup to try to figure out. So we did have the attach of one of the Fusion Strike energies to the Mew on the bench. We're going to find a Forest Seal Stone for our bench here as well, which will allow Tori to play his own Lost Vacuum to try to get one more card in his own Lost Zone. But usually as a Lost Box, you want to Lost Vacuum your own cards so you get 2 in the Lost Zone instead of just 1. So we got the opening Colress's Experiment. You'll love to see that. Maybe we can find our way to a Cramorant. Looks like there is no Comphase in that hand. We do have a Cramorant. We have a Radiant Greninja and an Energy. That's a bit of an interesting opening here. Looks like he's going to Lost Zone the Energy and the Cram. I mean, I think if you don't think that it's possible to go for Cram at this point, you might as well just Lost Zone it and just pass your turn instead. And Tori never even went for the Cram attack in the last game either, so perfectly fine. We do see... Is that a concealed cards? Now we are going to Nest Ball, probably to find a Comfey here. I know we have at least one Switch card in our hand. We'll be able to switch into the Comfey that way. It looks like Tori is already eyeing up the Drapion. That's crazy. Normally, I know I say this a lot, but you want to use Drapion for your last 3 prize cards of the game against Mew, if you can do it that way. But, I mean, even taking the first 2 prize cards, as long as you can get Greninja and Sableye after that, you are pretty fine. Scott does have double Mew V, or triple Mew Vs in play right now. So going for the Drapion isn't as good in this game as it was in the last game, because Tori was able to knock out one of the 2 Mew Vs that was in play. I do remember at one regional, I don't remember which one it was, but I think it was like round 3 or something. I used Drapion for my first 2 prizes against a Mew, but that's because they went Mew double Genesect to the bench pass. So then I attached an energy to my Drapion and knocked out their active Mew. And then they didn't have another Mew, so then I just attached another energy and attacked again. And they just couldn't play the game. So if you go against a deck that you know plays Drapion and you can only get 1 Mew V in play, that can be a death sentence. So it looks like we are going to battle VIP pass here as well. We're going to get the double Comfey here to the bench. We were able to Forest Seal Stone our Drapion here as well. So I think Tori just trying to use the Drapion with the Forest Seal Stone as a way to set up his board. And he might still attack with it just because it's already in play. So it looks like he's going to go for that both games. Again, not using it the ideal way, but still using it in a beneficial way. So, I mean, Scott could always just miss the Lost City, and then you can Super Rod or Clara back the Drapion and do it again. Looks like, is that a Sky Seal Stone in his hand too, or is that a second Forest Seal Stone? That's got to be a second Forest Seal Stone, right? I don't think he's ever played Sky Seal Stone in his Lost Box lists. And he's already used his V-Star power. We saw that marker get flipped. Yeah, that's another Forest Seal. Okay. You could still attach that Forest Seal Stone just to have it in play. In case you want a Lost Vacuum in the future, you have 2 targets on board to use with it. He does have a Lost Vacuum in hand as well, so he could go for that this turn. Trekking Shoes, gonna look at the top card, choose to either put it in the hand or discard it. If he discards it, he puts the next card on the top of his deck in his hand. It looks like he's choosing to discard it and draws another battle VIP pass. So that was actually pretty optimal, because he could have kept it and then the other one would have been shuffled into his deck. So I actually really like that from Tori. Recognizing he didn't need to play battle VIP pass, so just chooses to discard it and just got lucky and gets another battle VIP pass. So that's crazy to see that exact situation happened. So again, I think we're just going to go for the Drapion attack this turn. No reason not to. It's either attack with the Drapion or let it get boss KO'd without taking any prizes with it. So get the value out of the Drapion while you can. We even have the Lost Vacuum here. You could get rid of the Forest Seal Stone that's in your hand to get rid of the one that's on the board. Yeah, it looks like that's how we're doing it. And I know we have at least one switch card in hand, right? Okay, well, we have the retreat, so either way, it's still fine. Gonna retreat into the Drapion, and now we can do the attack. We could put the damage probably on the Greninja would make the most sense to put it on. If you put it on your itself onto the Drapion, that means that Mew needs 0 damage modifiers in order to knock it out. If you put it on something else, it does force the Mew to the Mew 1. The Mew 1 to also have 1 additional damage modifier. So it forces a Choice Belt or a Power Tablet out of them in order to be able to take that knockout. We do see the Lost City comes immediately down. Tori actually choosing it to put it on the Comfey. And in hindsight, that is smarter because he already knows that the Oricorio is in the Lost Zone for his opponent. So since Scott put his Oricorio in the Lost Zone, Tori knows that he's never going to be Glistening Droplets. And that's the only reason why you wouldn't want to put that damage on a Comfey, because you could always do 1 damage counter to the Comfey to knock it out. So say you get like 2 attacks off with Drapion, then you could use the Oricorio in order to Glistening Droplets take 2 knockouts or something like that. It's something I've definitely done before. So Scott, looks like Scott is going for the Ultra Ball, is going to be able to find the Mew VMAX. So just needs a double turbo energy and 1 damage modifier. Or I guess Scott wouldn't need the damage modifier if he attacked with the benched Mew that has a Fusion Strike energy on it, and if he just put 1 more Fusion Strike energy on there. But looks like he's more smartly opting for trying to find the double turbo energy. He has not used his V-Star power yet, so he could always V-Star for it if he misses it. So he's going to use his Genesect until he finds double turbo. Looks like he does find the Elisa Sparkle as well as another Fusion Strike energy, and Scott's going like this, saying that he evolved to the wrong Mew V. But there's no way that you would have known what exactly you were going to draw off of this. So you can still attach to the active and then Elisa Sparkle to both Pokemon, and then they're both fully loaded up. Which isn't the worst way to go about it. But it's also a little bit better at times to spread out your Fusion Strike energies. But in this matchup, where your Fusion Strike energies go doesn't matter too much. I mean, unless the Lost Box deck has, like, Hawlucha in it, because the Fusion Strike energies do prevent abilities from working on them. So it looks like we're going to Genesect yet again. We do have 4 Fusion Strike energies in play. If we find a Meloetta, we can Melodious Echo. And it looks like Scott finds the second Mew VMAX anyway, so ends up drawing pretty much everything he could ask for. The only other thing that you would want here is another Mew V for the bench, but you can wait until the next turn to do it. And if you have additional damage modifiers, you could actually go for, like, Melodious, or no, not Melodious, for Max Miracle, but, I mean, you have 2 Mew VMAXs in play, right? So you can just free retreat into each of those to continuously use Techno Blast every turn. So I think Scott's honestly in the most fine position he could possibly be in. Looks like he is going to retreat into the Mew VMAX that does not have the Choice Belt, because this way he can potentially save that Choice Belt, say if Tori is able to, like if Tori has double Drapion or has some sort of way to knock out the Mew VMAX or even just damage it, at least Scott will be able to have that Choice Belt on the bench to be able to use for a Cross Fusion Strike Techno Blast next turn. So say Tori is forced to somehow put like Raikou V or I guess not Raikou V. If he's forced to put Dragonite V on the bench, you would want to have that Choice Belt on your fresh attacker. So yeah, no reason not to retreat there. Even though it seems like he didn't have to. Having the Choice Belt on the guy that didn't attack, as long as you can do it that way, is the more effective way to go about that. So we do see Mirage Gate is coming out from Tori here. He's going to find a Water as well as a Psychic Energy out of the deck. Looks like there is no Lightning in there. So there's 1 Lightning in the Lost Zone. So that means the other Lightning is either in his hand or in his prize cards. You'd prefer to get the Lightning here on the Greninja just because you do want to save those Psychics for use with the Sableye if you can. Keep them around as long as possible so that you can Super Rod as late into the game as possible. And it looks like we are going to go for the Raihan. We'll also put a Water Energy from the discard onto this Greninja and search the deck for any 1 card. So can only play that because one of his Pokemon was knocked out on the previous turn. And if Tori does have the Switch cart now, he can also heal some of that Drapion self-damage off of this Comfey. Looks like he is going to use that Raihan to search for a Chorus's Experiment for use in the next turn. He is still a little bit off from being able to use Lost Mine. He's at 7 cards in the Lost Zone. So if he's able to use 1 Flower Selecting and a Chorus's Experiment, after that he will be able to get there. So I think he's not used his Comfey's Flower Selecting yet. So on the next turn he will be able to Chorus even without having to promote a Comfey in order to get to the correct amount of cards in the Lost Zone. So Tori looks like he's going to Lost Zone and Mirage Gate in order to keep the Pokestop here, just to replace the stadium of the Lost City. Does not want his Pokemon going into the Lost Zone, especially something like the Radiant Greninja or the Sableye. You need to make sure that those don't hit the Lost Zone so you can keep using them continuously. He could always super add those back into the deck and even just reuse the Concealed Cards ability yet again for his own benefit. We're going to put back in a Colress's Experiment as well as the Raihan that was just used back into the deck with this Pal Pad. And Tori definitely still feels like he's in complete control of the game. Scott and Tori are both again at 2 prizes, and this is playing out a lot like Game 1 yet again. The only difference between this game and Game 1 is that Tori started Sableye and has a Psychic Energy on this Greninja, and Scott has a little bit better of a board state, but it's still equally as susceptible to this math that's coming down here right now. So Moonlight Shuriken is going to do 90 damage to both of these Genesect, and it's just going to be a pass off to Scott after that attack. So now Scott, of course, finds the double turbo energy that he was actually looking for last turn, but it's fine. He can just get a Mew V to his bench here with this Nest Ball and then attach that double turbo to it. So it does find the Mew V. Is that his last Mew V? No, he might still have one more. No, it is his last Mew V because the first one got knocked out by the Drapion. That's why I'm thinking that. Cram-O-Matic is going to discard the Ultra Ball. Does flip a heads. Looks like that's a 2 on that die. So we will be able to search the deck for any one card. I don't even know if there's anything that Scott's even looking for. I mean, he could go for an Io, but he already has Judge in hand. That's basically the same thing. He's going to look for the Lost City. So we do have a second copy of the Lost City we are able to put back into play, discarding that Pokestop so that Tori is less likely to find some late game switching cards here. But also on top of that, the Radiant Greninja will be going to the Lost Zone. Now, the thing is, Tori could always attack with the Radiant Greninja. Say Scott goes ahead and bosses up a Sableye, knocks it out, puts it in the Lost Zone, right? Tori can still win off of attacking with the next Sableye and the Radiant Greninja a second time. So he really needs to have the Lost City in play and Tori to miss a Sableye or have to Lost Zone one early for some reason, and that's just not happening. Tori just has both of them in play already. Tori even put back the Raihan into his deck. It's going to be super simple for him to be able to recycle these Psychic Energies. I don't believe Tori has even used a single Super Rod yet either. But here comes Scott with the Switch card, is finally able to heal some of that damage off of a Genesect, so that's leaving it with 130 remaining HP. Second Switch cart, healing 30 damage yet again. Both of these now out of range, and that puts Tori one turn behind, effectively negating that first Greninja's attack. Now, of course, we could always see 150. Yeah, so actually it doesn't completely negate the Greninja's attack, but if Tori was able to Super Rod this Greninja back into deck and use it a second time specifically, gets to put 180 damage into play, because 90 to 2 Pokemon, so he could attack with the Greninja again in a row, and then Sableye for 4 prizes at once. because both of the Genesects would be at 150 damage, which means 40 HP remaining each, and then the Sableyes just wipe them both off the face of the earth. So having the Lost City here, as well as the double switch cart, was super clutch, and might actually make it so that Scott is able to pull this game through. But there is only 15 minutes left on the clock. If Scott is able to win this game, will he be able to win Game 3 in time? Will there be any time in Game 3 for either player to be able to win that? And I am not so sure. And that is the key thing. If Scott had scooped, you know, maybe 4 minutes sooner, there would be 4 minutes left on the clock to be able to play for a Game 3 than you currently have on the clock. So, not that much of a difference, but you can get through a turn or two in that 4 minutes. And if Scott were to also have the... I know it's better to have the Lost City in this specific instance, but again, I keep talking about that Crystal Cave that would heal another 30 off of each of those Genesects as well. So, Tori is going to promote the Comfey. We've already healed 3 of those damage counters off with one of those switch carts. We'll be able to potentially do that again if we have another one, but it looks like we have the escape rope instead, so... I think Tori does have... He does have Chorus's Experiment in hand, right? He did search that on the previous turn with the Raihan. But it looks like he top-decks the Raihan that he put back into his deck. Or did Scott, like, judge them or something? I already forgot. Sometimes I get too into talking about the game that I forget to pay attention to the actual game. But anyway, the Raihan does come down. We are able to get that Psychic Energy that was in the discard pile that I said before would have preferred to have been a Lightning Energy on that Greninja, but now there's exactly... should be... Is there 10 cards in the Lost Zone right now? No, it looks like 8. Maybe I miscounted earlier somehow. Yeah, I must have miscounted somehow. I thought there was more. Tori did resort... Or no, there's 5. There's 9. Yeah, so 1 flower selecting will put him there. So he is effectively at 10 now. So yeah, he'll be at 10 right after this flower selecting. Looks like, was that maybe in Water Energy for the first card? Yes, it was. And it's either like Switch Card or Mirage Gate. Oh no, Super Rod. Getting rid of the Super Rod, that's pretty ballsy. But it might be fine. So we are going to go for the escape rope here. We will be able to put 120 to one of those Genesects, leaving one of them with 10 HP remaining. Or we could do 60 to each. There's another way to go about it. Looks like we are going to Lost Vacuum as well, getting rid of the Lost City. And the other thing that could happen is this game could end in a tie if both players keep playing at this pace. Which, of course, would put Tori with the win. Another thing that Tori could do is he could put... Let's see. He needs... He needs at least 1 on one of the Genesects, and then he could put the rest to one of the Mew VMAXs. Do an attack with the next Sableye. And then after that, clean up with the Dragonite. But that would be his way of going through a Mew VMAX if he had to. And I don't think he's looking forward to going through a Mew VMAX. I don't think that that's on his agenda right now. And I think we're having the same discussion again. He's like, I can't play the... You have to put it back at least 1 supporter card in order to play the card. You cannot play a card to do absolutely nothing with it and just put it in the discard pile. So, like, again, with, like, Ultra Ball, you're at least looking through the deck. And, the difference between the ruling of, like, Battle Compressor versus Ultra Ball, where Battle Compressor, you have to choose at least one card, whereas Ultra Ball can fail to find. The decks are private knowledge in both cases, but there's public knowledge that there is an amount of cards in the deck. So Battle Compressor has to mill at least one card, because you can look at the deck and say there is at least one cards in the deck. Therefore, you have to mill at least one. Whereas with Ultra Ball looking through the deck, you cannot verify with your opponent that there are no Pokemon in the deck because you are not allowed to look at your opponent's deck. So it looks like, I think that was an Ultra Ball we went through the deck with. We're gonna use our Genesect Fusion Strike system to draw some cards. Gonna draw a couple of Battle VIP passes, super useful in this matchup right now, of course. And we are going to retreat into our other Mew VMAX. The first one, of course, could not attack because it used Techno Blast on the previous turn. So now we are going to... we could just max Miracle here instead, so that we don't have to retreat again. Either way would be fine. And there's the Chorus's Experiment that we searched for 2 turns ago? with the first Raihan, I believe. Unless we search that off the second Raihan. I already forgot what he got off the second Raihan. I'm a professional, I promise. 3 switch cards are down, it looks like, for Tori, along with 1 escape rope. Choosing what to Lost Zone here. He's got to keep 3 cards in Lost Zone 2, so it looks like he's going to go for the Choice Bell Escape Rope as his choices to put in the Lost Zone. And here comes the second Super Rod. First one went to the Lost Zone, but we do have plenty of energies to be able to put back into the deck now, so as well as another Sableye. I think you do want to put the Sableye back. So maybe Sableye Psychic Water makes sense. You could have also done Sableye Double Psychic. We are going to Escape Rope here. I don't even think Tori used his Flower Selecting. Just gonna go for the Mirage Gate instead. I like that Tori actually didn't use okay, so that's why he did it that way. So gonna use Mirage Gate to get the Psychic and the Water. Water, of course, fulfilling the extra colorless energy that is required on basic Pokemon due to the Pokemon League Headquarters Stadium card that Scott currently has in play, which is supposed to be a tech against the Lost Box, but does not do anything clearly, because Tori just has exactly what he needs here. Has been able to be set up by a couple of Raihans and this Chorus's Experiment, being able to find Tori exactly what he needs for this situation. And we are going to be able to see, I would say, Sableye putting 6 damage counters to both of the Genesects yet again would make sense. Or he could do 1 to each of them and then the rest to the third Genesect. In case Scott does play Volo, that would play around that potentially. But Scott is at 2 prize cards remaining, so you have to play this game in a way where you can still win it within these next couple of turns. So you could knock out one Genesect and then just put damage on the other one, but that makes you more susceptible to Iono. Oh, and my cat came to visit. Sunny! Hello! I just saw my door open and a cat come in. Here. Say hi to the camera. She smells good. She keeps herself very clean. She's good at grooming. So yeah, what do you do if you're Scott right now? Besides hope to play Iono. He has the Iono in hand, so that's really good for him. You go in your tree. Okay. Bye, kitty. Look out the window. So there's the INO. Tori's going to be left with 2 cards now. So that is the problem with with actually taking the knockout instead of just spreading to both Genesects again. I think that, like, I think about it a lot, and I think that the format could really benefit from having, like, Tapu Koko again. You know, the one that, well, like, for a double turbo, or, no, for a DCE, did 20 to all of your opponent's Pokemon. I think the format could really benefit from a card like that. It might be kind of broken, honestly. But that was such a good card in that format when it was out. So Scott is more than likely going to be able to take the knockout on this Sableye yet again. And Tori just needs to establish his final Sableye to win the game. So can he do that? I guess he could also Cramorant or Raikou or I think the Dragonite's in the Lost Zone, right? I think he put that in the Lost Zone. I know he put one other. There's 2 V Pokemon in his Lost Zone right now. So he has access to a V Pokemon. But, I mean, at the very least, Scott has to take this knockout here. So, can just max Miracle again. Just fine. And just hope your opponent doesn't have it. And that's all there really is to say about the game remaining. He's going to evolve to another Mew VMAX. Draw some more cards. Just thinning the deck as much as possible, giving himself as many options for the next turn as possible if he needs any, I suppose. But, I mean, Scott really has everything that he needs in order to win the game on board, and he just has to hope that Tori doesn't have it. So, Pokemon League Headquarters also still is in play, so if Tori does find the Sableye, it's going to be rough for him because he's not going to be able to attack with it. So, this is where the Pokemon League Headquarters is actually coming in clutch. Yeah, so Tori needs to, like, find Lost Vacuum or another one of his own stadiums. Or he needs to have another Mirage Gate, which he might be out of at this point. I haven't been counting his exact Mirage Gates. Tori is eyeing up the energies in his discard pile. He could always... Well, no, he already used his Raihan a second time. Tori's looking through, how many cards are left in my deck? Can I pull it together or not? He has Psychic Energy in hand. And I think that I saw an Escape Rope, so he could Flower Selecting twice. Maybe find another Chorus's Experiment. Dig a little bit further into the deck. But yeah, I think Sableye Mirage Gate is what you need in order to win the game. Oh, he has a Chorus in hand as well, I see. Yeah, because I don't think a Clara could get you where you need to be, and he's probably playing the Raihan over the Clara. Because I know some of the Lost Box decks do that. So he's going to dig 5 deep with this Chorus. He does find the Sableye as well as double Nest Ball Dragonite V. Jesus. And this is potentially where saying that the... he could have put damage counters to the Mew VMAX could have come in handy because he found the Dragonite. So if he had attached Return Mirage Gate to the Dragonite, he could knock out the active Mew VMAX with that instead. But and he has Mirage Gate, so he's able to get Lightning Water out of his deck. He is able to retreat, attaches a Psychic for a turn to the Sableye, and is able to get there. Tori barely managed to squeak out Game 2 just before time is called. So, as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and all that good stuff up above. We will see you guys next time. Ooh, that was That second game was close. That was a lot better than game one.